Hey there everyone, thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the channel, my name is Rachel. I'm a coloring enthusiast, and here on PencilStash, I'm just kind of documenting my coloring journey through tutorials, trial and error, and overall, I'm just trying to have some fun with it. So if you like what you see and want to join me, please consider subscribing. All right, let's dive in. This week, I wanted to pull out this pop manga coloring book by Camilla Dierko. Now, I've colored some pages from this book in the past, and this book is full of equal parts, awesome pages, and then really, really weird ones, like uncomfortable weird ones. So I've been kind of trying to mine out the good ones, and today I think we'll do this page. I think that this is a good one. I just love all the movement from the items on the headdress here. I think they're really, really cool and will be really fun to color. And I mean, I can't help but wonder, why is she crying? I can only assume her headdress is too tight, but who knows? There's a lot of crying women in this book, so it's a little weird. We'll just kind of ignore that for now. Now, while I was looking at potential colors that I wanted to pull in for this page, I found myself really gravitating towards my Crayolas, especially just from looking at my color chart. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I challenge myself on this page to use just Crayolas? And that's what I'm going to be doing today. Nothing but Crayolas, no blender pencils, no white gel pens, no metallic markers, none of my favorite kind of signature style embellishments. Just the student grade pack of 100 Crayola colored pencils. The only thing I did allow myself was Q-tips, so a little bit of a mulligan there. And the reason that I did this was really just to prove that you don't need artist grade expensive pencils to achieve a good end result. If I had to choose actually between a book with good quality paper or good pencils, I would choose the paper every time. For me, it's a much more enjoyable experience when I'm coloring on good quality paper. Other than that, whatever coloring tools I have, I can absolutely work with them. So this page, we're just going to sort of prove that out. And speaking of the Crayolas in general, I really like how these purple aspects came out. This is kind of what was my jumping off point. And I really took my time here. I tried to work in as much color as I could here just to get a nice soft variation. And I even used a purple that reads quite blue, which really kind of brought out the overall look to where I wanted it. And just on the Crayola topic, I'm a big fan of Crayolas in general. I typically use them right alongside my Prismacolors and my faber-castells. These do not live in a drawer somewhere that I pull out once in a while. These are in my pencil bins. I use them all the time. I think they're a wonderful tool to have in your arsenal. The only issue that I was repeatedly having with these was my tips kept breaking. Now, it might have just been isolated to just a few pencils, but it kept happening over and over again. I used both of my favorite pencil sharpeners, my Coom and my Prismacolor, and it really didn't seem to matter. My tips just kept breaking. So there might have been a problem with just some of the cores in some of these, but I definitely had to baby certain ones a little bit when I was sharpening them. Now, the other challenge that I ran into when I was kind of tackling this page was that I wanted to do some gold elements in the headdress here. And I've never really done a gold treatment with just my Crayolas before. I typically use a bunch of my Prismacolors. So when I wanted to kind of achieve a gold effect here using only my Crayolas, I had to kind of dig in the bin and just kind of see what I would find and look at my color chart. And I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. I ended up using a combination of daffodil, unmellow yellow, harvest gold, and antique brass. And I think the combo worked out pretty well, and I have no complaints. Now, when it comes to the overall color palette on this page, I didn't go in knowing exactly what colors I wanted to use. I wish I was one of those people that kind of planned out their pages and did thumbnails and researched a comprehensive color palette. I really do want to be one of those people. That is on my bucket list. And I do that once in a while, but I kind of force myself to do so. But more often than not, I typically just kind of look at a page and there's usually one element that stands out and that is really kind of speaking to me, really begging to be colored in a particular way. And that is my jumping off point. So I typically start there, and then I kind of work around that, taking one item at a time and kind of figuring it out by the seat of my pants. If I don't know what a particular element wants to be yet, I skip it. I move on, I come back to it later. And once in a while, I do kind of back myself into a corner doing this approach. But overall, it works for me, and it almost forces me to be more creative and spontaneous in the moment, because typically I have to kind of come up with something on the fly that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of doing if I was planning it out, if that makes sense. So there's definitely pros and cons to each approach. Now, one of the elements that I did know going in is that I wanted her hair to be black. Now, I don't typically color hair black in my coloring. It's just not my go-to. I don't know why. But this page presented me with two things. One, an opportunity to practice coloring hair black, which I don't typically do. And two, I thought that black would be a nice neutral to work alongside the more colorful elements of this headdress. This is a very busy page. So sometimes your eye just kind of needs a place to rest. It needs a break from all of the colorful elements here. And I thought that the black hair would provide that. But I also couldn't just let her hair be black. I mean, there's always an opportunity to inject a little bit of fun into some of these more quiet moments as well. So I actually have a friend who has black hair, and she has the most amazing streaks of like indigo blue in it. So I took a nod from her, and I thought it would be fun to give our girl the same. So I incorporated some of my favorite Crayola color, outer space, into her hair. And I coupled that with black and dark brown as well. And because I'm not super experienced coloring hair black, I really took my time here. I started by just kind of color blocking, just laying down some really light layers just to get a feel for how this would go. And then I just sort of continued to add, continue to build, continue to layer from there until I was comfortable with the end result. So big tip here, if you're trying something new, start light because you can always pivot from that point. So I did use Q-tips for blending some of the elements on this page, as well as some of my lightest Crayola colors, just kind of using them as I went. But near the end, I also brought out my white Crayola color pencil because you can absolutely blend with this. And it does give a really cool sort of like milky finish over top of whatever you're applying it to. So I thought that that would be an interesting component to add here on some of the kind of ancillary objects around her face. And last but certainly not least, we come to her face. And while this was another opportunity for me to practice skin tone, it was an even better opportunity for me to practice a darker skin tone. Now, I really thought that hints of caramel and some deeper browns would work really well here with our color palette, and it did not disappoint. I think it was a really good choice, and it brought a very warm, sort of complex addition to our page. Now, I still had no idea how to color her tears, though. This one sort of stumped me, and admittedly, I kind of avoided it. Looking back on it now, I kind of wish that I had gone in and modified the page a little bit. I think I could have kind of fudged some areas here to eliminate the look of the tears altogether. But she still would have looked super sad, so we weren't really fixing any of her problems. So if you have any suggestions on how you would have tackled coloring these tears, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to know your thoughts. And overall, this page was a joy to color. The paper in this book is just lovely. I've always enjoyed limiting myself or kind of challenging myself to use just one medium. It always sparks creativity and just kind of pushes me outside of my comfort zone, pushes me to try something new. And I tried several new things on this page and really quite happy with the results. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It helps out the channel tremendously. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me how you would have colored her tears. Tell me your favorite Crayola color. Tell me how your day is going. Whatever you would like, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, I have years and years worth of back catalog videos if you'd like to check them out. And speaking of back catalog, I had someone reach out to me asking if I had a playlist of my videos that would be good for beginner colorists to follow, which I thought was absolutely brilliant because I did not have such a playlist. So I created one, and there will be a link to it down below, as well as a playlist that you can find through my channel if you'd like to do it that way. Definitely check it out if you're new. It just kind of brings you through, some of kind of the beginner stages, the beginner steps, and just kind of works you through a nice natural progression. And one last plug, I promise. I have the entrepreneurial spirit. I just can't help myself. And I opened an Etsy shop. I'm making custom stands for the mini ears that you can get from the Disney parks. These are so cool. I think you guys know I'm a huge Disney nerd. I've always wanted to display some of my favorite ears from my trips, and I finally found an awesome way to do so. I actually started making these for myself, and then I realized that, maybe some other people would want them as well. So I started an Etsy shop. It's called PencilStash. So if you're interested or have a Disney fan in your life, please go ahead and check that out. I will leave a link down in the description as well. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring!